Imagine for a moment that you are one of the most powerful countries in the world. You have paid billions of dollars to your oldest ally. You have helped them build parts for the most advanced fighter jet in history. You expect them to deliver your planes. But then, one morning in 2019, the phone rings. It is Washington. They tell you that you are out. You are fired. They are keeping your money, and they are keeping the jets. This is exactly what happened to Turkey. When the United States kicked Turkey out of the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter program, military analysts in the West laughed. They said the Turkish Air Force would collapse. They said Turkey would come begging for forgiveness. They believed that building a fifth-generation stealth fighter was impossible for a country like Turkey. They thought only superpowers like America, Russia, or China could do it. They were wrong. Instead of begging, Turkey went silent. They went to work. Thousands of engineers worked day and night in secret hangars in Ankara. And just a few years later, the hangar doors opened and a gray beast rolled out onto the runway. It was huge. It was sleek. And it had the crescent moon and star painted on its tail. The world gasped. It wasn't an American jet. It was the KAN. Today, we're going to tell the story of the greatest comeback in modern aviation history. We are going to compare the jet the U.S. refused to give, the Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II, against the jet Turkey built to replace it, the TAI KAAN. Is the Turkish fighter really a match for the American legend? Or is it just national propaganda? The answer is much more terrifying for NATO than you might think. To understand this rivalry, we first have to respect the king of the skies. The F-35 Lightning II is currently the most advanced operational fighter jet on the planet. It is not just a plane. Pilots call it a computer that happens to fly. Its superpower is not speed, and it is not maneuverability. Its superpower is stealth and information. When an F-35 flies into enemy territory, it is almost invisible to radar. It is the size of a golf ball on an enemy screen. It sees everything. Its sensors can detect an enemy jet from hundreds of kilometers away, identify it, and shoot it down before the enemy even knows a war has started. It shares this data with every other ship, tank, and drone in the area. It is the ultimate sniper. For years, Turkey wanted this capability. They planned their entire future air force around the F-35. But the F-35 has a dark secret. It comes with a leash. The software that runs the F-35 is controlled by the United States. If you fly an F-35, Washington knows where you are. Washington knows who you are shooting at. And theoretically, if Washington doesn't like your war, they can stop supplying spare parts, turning your billion-dollar stealth fighter into a useless paperweight. This is the golden cage. When Turkey was kicked out of the program because they bought the S-400 missile system from Russia, they realized something important. Being strong is not enough. You have to be independent. Enter the challenger, the TAI KAN. When the first images of the KAN were released, Western experts were shocked by one specific detail: size. The KAN is big. It is significantly larger than the F-35. In fact, it looks more like the American F-22 Raptor, the jet that the U.S. refuses to sell to anyone, not even its closest friends. Why is the KAN so big? The answer lies in physics. The American F-35 is a single-engine jet. It is designed to be a strike fighter, a jack of all trades. It has to carry bombs, hit ground targets, and fight in the air. Because it only has one engine, it is not very fast, and it cannot fly very high compared to pure air superiority fighters. The Turkish KAN uses two engines. This is a massive difference. Two engines mean more thrust. More thrust means more speed, a higher climb rate, and more energy in a dogfight. While the F-35 struggles to fly at supersonic speeds without using its afterburners, the KAN is designed for supercruise, the ability to fly faster than sound for a long time without burning all its fuel. This makes the KAN a true hunter. But let's talk about the elephant in the room: stealth. Can Turkey really build a stealth jet? Building a plane that is invisible to radar is incredibly difficult. It requires exotic materials, microscopic precision, and shapes that deflect radio waves perfectly. The F-35 F-35 is the result of 40 years of American research. It is the gold standard. Critics argue that the KAAN, being Turkey's first attempt, cannot possibly be as stealthy as the F-35. And they're probably right, for now. The F-35 is likely stealthier from all angles. However, the KAAN doesn't need to be better than the F-35 to be dangerous. It just needs to be stealthy enough. The front profile of the KAAN is designed with the same diamond shapes and serrated edges found on American jets. Even if it is slightly more visible than an F-35, it is still invisible to older radars. And remember, the KAAN carries more missiles. One of the biggest complaints about the F-35 is its internal weapon capacity. Because it has to hide its missiles inside its belly to stay stealthy, the F-35 can only carry 4 missiles in standard stealth mode. 4 shots. If you miss, you are in trouble. The KAAN, thanks to its larger size, has a massive internal weapons bay. It is expected to carry 6 or more missiles internally. In a high-intensity war, having 50% more ammo than your enemy is a game changer. But the real battle isn't about speed or missiles. It is about sovereignty. This is why NATO is secretly nervous. For decades, the West controlled the skies because they controlled the supply chain. If a country misbehaved, the U.S. could cut off their supply of engines or chips. With the KAAN, Turkey is breaking these chains. Initially, the KAAN will fly with American engines, but Turkey is already building its own indigenous engine to replace them. They are building their own radar, their own missiles, and their own mission computer. Imagine a future scenario. A conflict breaks out in the Middle East. The U.S. tells its allies, do not intervene. The countries flying F-35s have to listen because they need American updates and parts. But Turkey? Turkey can launch the KAAN. They don't need permission codes from Washington. They don't need satellite data from the Pentagon. The KAAN speaks Turkish. It reports only to Ankara. This independence makes the KAAN a very attractive option for other countries. Think about nations like Pakistan, Azerbaijan, or even countries in the Gulf. They want fifth-generation power, but they don't want the political strings that come with American jets. The KAAN offers them a third way. It is a Muslim-made stealth fighter that comes with no golden cage. This threatens the U.S. monopoly on stealth technology. So, let's simulate a dogfight. F-35 versus KAAN. If the fight happens at long range, the F-35 has the advantage. Its sensors are more mature. It might see the KAAN first and shoot first. The American pilot, sitting in a cockpit that projects vision through the plane itself, has better situational awareness. The F-35 is a sniper in the dark. But what if the KAAN survives the first shot? What if the KAAN uses its high speed to close the distance and force a dogfight? This is where the F-35 pilot starts to sweat. In a visual range fight, the F-35 is heavy and sluggish compared to true air superiority fighters. The KAAN, with its dual engines and aerodynamic design, acts more like a raptor. It has the power to climb vertically, turn harder, and sustain energy longer. If the KAAN gets close, the hunter becomes the hunted. The F-35 was never built to dogfight a plane with the thrust-to-weight ratio of the KAAN. Currently, the KAAN is still in the prototype phase. It has flown, and it looks magnificent, but there is a long road ahead. Integration of sensors, refining the engines, and mass production are huge challenges. Critics say it will take 10 years before the KAAN is truly ready for war. But they also said Turkey couldn't build it in the first place. When the KAAN took its first flight, it didn't just lift off the runway. It lifted the spirits of a nation. It sent a message to the world that the era of relying on superpowers is ending. The F-35 Lightning II is a masterpiece of engineering, a computer that changed warfare. It is the current king, but the king is getting old, and his subjects are rebellious. The KAAN is the challenger. It is rough, it is new, but it is free. Ultimately, the existence of the KAAN proves one thing. You can kick a nation out of a program, but you cannot kick the ambition out of a nation. The U.S. refused to sell their sword to Turkey, so Turkey forged their own. And sometimes, the sword you make yourself is sharper than the one you buy because you know exactly how to use it. So what do you think? In 10 years, when the KAAN is fully operational, will it be the F-35 killer that the East is waiting for? Or will American tech always remain one step ahead? Let us know in the comments below, and welcome to the new age of air warfare.